等他叫众人散开，散了众人以后，他就独自上山去祷告。到了晚上，只有他一人在那里。那时船在海中，因风不顺，被浪摇撼。夜里4更天，耶稣在海面上走，往门徒那里去。门徒看见他在海面上走，就惊慌了，说是个鬼怪，便害怕，喊叫起来。耶稣连忙对他们说：“你们放心，是我，不要怕。”彼得说：“主，如果是你，请叫我从水面上走到你那里去。”耶稣说：“你来吧。”彼得就从船上下去，在水面上走，要到耶稣那里去。因见风甚大，就害怕，将要沉下去，便喊着说：“主啊，救我！”耶稣赶紧伸手拉住他，说：“你这小信的人啊，为什么疑惑呢？”他们上了船，风就住了。在船上的人都拜他，说：“你真是神的儿子。”感谢神的话语。
The Bible reading is from Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 to 33. Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, and cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God."
With the 4 major airline tragedies on record, 2014 is quickly becoming another year of disasters. Not to mention the recent bombardments of the Gaza Strip, floods, landslides, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and typhoons in various places. 随着4架飞机掉下来，2014年迅速成为灾年，还不算加沙地带的轰炸，到处常规的水灾、山崩、火山、地震和台风。Aren't you scared? 你怕不怕 ？And don't forget how insecure our private lives are. 你别忘了我们的生活也不保险。Some Christians might say, we should not be scared because we have faith, strong faith in Christ. 有些基督徒会说，我们不怕，我们信基督啊。And many people see today's passage as no more than a lesson on Peter's failure or on the importance of faith when the winds blow hard. 很多人认为今天的经文让我们从彼得的失败中得教训，或者看看风浪中信心坚定是多么的重要。But this sermon series Bud and I are working on aims to help us look more closely at our fears, doubts, anger, etc., and even awaken the emotions deep inside of us so we can know ourselves better. 而巴特牧师后，我正在推出的这个讲道系列，就是要帮助我们仔细的端详我们的惧怕、疑虑、愤怒等等，甚至唤醒内心深处的情感，使我们明心见性。It's unless we are faithful to our own feelings, we cannot be faithful to the Lord. Neither can we commit our lives, our true lives to God. 忠于自己的情感才谈得上忠于主，那否则也别提说向上帝奉献我们的生命，真实的生命。When the 5,000 people were being fed by the 5 loaves and 2 fish, as we learned last week, they were so impressed, they might have thought, now our lives will be secure by this guy Jesus. We don't have to worry about work, for he feeds us. We don't have to worry about sickness anymore, for he heals us. It seems that we don't have to worry about any life issues. Just follow him. 我们上个星期看过5饼2鱼的故事，人们兴高采烈，我们的生活可算有保障。我们再也不用上班了，反正耶稣管饭；我再也不用担心生病了，反正耶稣能治，什么都不用担心了，跟随耶稣就好了。In John's Gospel, it's actually written that he tried to make Jesus king. 所以约翰福音里面记载，人们甚至想把耶稣直接推上去做皇帝。This was evidently the reason in verse 22, immediately following the multiplication of the bread and fish, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and sent them away to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. 那么这也就是为什么在22节说吃完了5饼2鱼之后，说耶稣马上打发门徒上船送到对岸，他在这里边遣散民众。Jesus was determined to help the disciples to be clear about what it truly meant to follow him. 耶稣要让门徒看清楚到底跟随他是怎么一回事。And Jesus needed to have a clear mind as well. 耶稣自己呢也要清醒一会儿。So in verse 23, he went up on a mountainside by himself. 所以23节说他自己上了山。After the big day with the crowds, Jesus turned to his Father in prayer. 闹腾了一整天之后呢，耶稣用祷告面对天父。And probably he had some doubts. Probably the day had been weary. 可能他有些疑虑，也有可能他确实是累了。So Jesus never shrinks from exposing his human side. 耶稣向来不介意暴露他的人性。So Matthew emphasizes that Jesus was there alone, looking for solace in quietness with the Father. 所以马太在经文里面强调说，只有耶稣一人在那里，在天父面前安静下来。From this point, Matthew turns his attention to the disciples. 这时候你看看门徒吧。They set off on the journey, knowing that Jesus was not far away from them. 他们上路了，知道耶稣离他们不远。They were confident that Jesus would meet up with them sooner or later. 他们知道耶稣早晚呢就来找他们了。We can also be confident. We are known by Jesus and backed by Jesus, even though each of us is on our own journey. 我们在各自的人生旅途当中也认识耶稣，也知道他在我们身后。Now the boat was making progress, and it was quite a long way from the land. 小船往前走，离陆地越来越远。The distance was compounded by the weather. A strong wind was blowing, and they were tossed by the waves. 结果天气不好，刮起一阵风，他们在浪尖上荡来荡去。So I went to a half-day fishing trip with Wendy's cousin last year before Liz was born. 去年栗子这个出生前，我和温迪的堂姐夫租船钓鱼。I proudly caught the biggest snapper of the day. See, everyone else caught only leather jackets or flap hats. 所以我钓了当天整船上最大的这个叫加急鱼其他人钓上的都是8屁鱼或者牛鳅。What was the worst experience I've ever had. 结果是我人生中最黑暗的经历。It was cold and windy, and I got seasick. 就天冷风大，我还晕船。After that photo was taken, I started vomiting. 这张照片咔嚓完了，我就开始呕吐。And for almost 4 hours, I rested my head on the handrail and could not move. 这整整4个小时呢，我的头趴在栏杆上，动不能动。I even wished a shark would come and attack the boat and just swallow me, so I could die fast. 我当时就盼望一条鲨鱼过来把船掀翻，咬死我算了，能途死个痛快。So Matthew does not say how long they had been in making the crossing, but it started right after the meal finished. 所以马太的经文没有说他们在船上多久，那么可以确定的是刚吃完饭就上船。So you can imagine, some of the disciples might have been seasick, vomiting the loaves and the fish they had just enjoyed. 你想想就行，那些门徒肯定有晕船的，把刚吃的5饼2鱼再吐出来。Even though some of the disciples were fishermen, they must have been very weary. 就算门徒中这个有些渔民啊，也受不了。They knew that was Jesus who sent them on this trip, and Jesus would finally meet them somewhere, somehow. 他们知道是耶稣派他们上船，那早晚耶稣也就来了。Therefore, they were definitely secure. But there was no sugarcoating to hide the fact it was such an unpleasant trip. 你说怕倒是不怕，我们这一路呢，却让人讨厌。Wobbly boat, waves, darkness, seasickness, weariness. They had been battling against the elements all night. 小船晃呀晃，浪打浪，黑乎乎的，晕船，心烦，一晚上都在折腾。But where was Jesus? 耶稣在哪？ Why would Jesus make such a plan? 他这算是个什么安排？ He should have known about the weather. 天气不好他不知道吗？ Or does he even care about his disciples? 还是他根本就不关心？ Then they saw something moving above the water, calmly walking on the sea in the midst of the storm. 结果看到水面上有东西在移动，在风浪中平静地走着。Disciples were agitated and scared. 是门徒们是胆战心惊。They could not envisage any mortal doing what Jesus was doing. 这简直想象不到是什么怪物。So they said, "It's a ghost," and cried out. 说这是个鬼怪，便喊叫起来。Matthew was among them crying out. So years later, when he wrote the gospel, he had not forgotten his feelings that day, and he was not embarrassed to emphasize the fact that they all cried out in fear. 作者马太当时也在那喊叫。多年以后，他动笔写福音书，还没有忘记当时的心情。我字里行间呢，隐隐有些尴尬。我当时确实是因为害怕而喊叫。What would you do if you were among them? 如果你在现场会怎么样 ？Instead of meeting with Jesus, they thought they had met a ghost. 说耶稣没遇见，却遇见了鬼怪。They were worried now. They felt they were seriously in trouble. 我们现在是真害怕了，天有不测风云。Darkness, storm, ghost, all came at once. 黑暗、风浪、鬼怪齐上阵。The disciples were on the verge of a mental breakdown. 说门徒们濒临崩溃的边缘。So curiously, you don't even see their faith. You don't even hear their prayer. 这时候你也看不见他们的信心了，干脆也听不见他们祷告。Aren't they supposed to be good examples by saying a solemn prayer? 难道不该为我们立一个榜样，虔诚庄严的祷告一番吗？ Father, thank you for this storm. Strengthen us. Thank you for bringing this ghost. Help us to knock him down. 说天父啊，说为风浪感谢你，坚固我们；为这个鬼怪感谢你，帮助我们赶跑他。No, they just naturally, humanly cried out from depth of their emotions. 这并不是他们人性的、自然的从情感深处发出喊叫。And bearing in mind, these are the first disciples. They are in Jesus' inner circle. We imagine them to be the giants of faith. 说别忘了，这些可是第一批圣徒，耶稣身边的圈内人士，是信心的巨子。Because it's all right to cry out. 因为喊叫就对了。They are humans like us. 他们和我们一样是人。Certainly we're not to cry out like those who are without hope in Christ. But we do need to cry out and grieve when we are in distress. 当然不是像没有基督的盼望的人一样大哭大闹，在悲伤的时候，却应该喊一喊，哭一哭。He never offends God when he sees his children expose their feelings. 上帝绝不介意看到他的儿女表露情感。Jesus immediately took steps to calm them. 耶稣立刻平静他们。Take courage, he said in verse 27. It is I. Don't be afraid. 你们放心。27节说是我，不要怕。This expression was sometimes used in the Old Testament, where God revealed himself, such as, I am who I am, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. Or like we just read in Isaiah chapter 43, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, for I am the Lord your God. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. 在旧约里面，上帝经常用这种说话方式。那比如说出埃及记3章14节说我是自由拥有的，或者像我们刚才读到以赛亚书43章，你从水中经过，我必与你同在，因为我是耶和华你的神。不要害怕，因为我与你同在。To hear it from the lips of Jesus at this point might perhaps be natural under the circumstances. 那么在当时那个场合，耶稣也许就顺口说说。Disciples were scared and in need of reassurance. It was important that they should know that the one they were seeing was not a ghost, that Jesus identified himself. 说门徒们吓呆了，他们得知道呢，那是耶稣，不是鬼怪，所以耶稣表明身份。But the expression does have overtones of deity. And when Matthew recorded this in his book, he saw the light. It had become clear to him who, but God, could walk on stormy waters. 但这种说法也确实透着神性。当马太写下这段话的时候，他总算明白过味儿来了。除了上帝，还有谁在那种水面上走？ Now the story shifts to the fun part. 我们现在就开始搞笑了。Peter saw Jesus walking on the water like surfing. 彼得看见耶稣在水面上好像冲浪一样。He thought, that is fun. 他觉得这倒是很好玩。So he waved at Jesus, verse 28. Lord, it is you. Tell me to come to you on the water. 他朝着耶稣振臂高呼28节说：主，如果是你，请叫我从水面上走到你那里去。Come, Jesus said. 耶稣说：“你来吧。” Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. 彼得就从船上下去，在水面上走，要到耶稣那里去。He was really having some fun. 彼得玩得很开心啊。 We don't know how far Peter had served, but suddenly his attention moved from Jesus to the storm. 大家不知道彼得冲浪了多久，但是突然他的注意力从耶稣就转到了风浪。He saw the wind. He felt the wind. He was terrified by the effects of the wind. 他看见风，感到风，风吹得他害怕。He was afraid and began to sink. 他将要沉下去。Once again, he cried out, "Lord, save me!" 他又喊了一次，主啊，救我。And many Christians have criticized Peter for his lack of faith. 很多基督徒呢都指责说你彼得缺乏信心。But I would suggest that Peter was doing the right thing. 我倒是觉得彼得做得对。Actually, this sermon series is leading us to be like Peter. 我们的讲道系列就是要让大家就像彼得一样。He tried, and then he failed. 他尝试了，失败了。What was wrong with that? 那有什么了不起？ We need to take our fear and anxiety seriously. 我们要认真对待我们的惧怕和焦虑。When you are sinking, don't deny the fact. 当你沉下去的时候，你要正视。Don't pretend that you are having some fun. 你别故作轻松。Don't pretend that you are okay if you are choking on salty water. 说嘴里面呛咸水的时候，别假装没事儿。Cry out to God, Lord, save me. 向上帝喊叫说：“主啊，救我。” And don't blame others. 你别怨别人。Oh, look at my fellow disciples. They're just watching the boat. No one helps me. 你看我那些同伴，只知道坐在船里面看，没有人帮我。Just cry out to God, Lord, save me. 向上帝喊叫说：“主啊，救我。” And don't blame yourself. 也别埋怨自己。Oh, it's my fault. I don't have a strong faith. No wonder I'm sinking. 是我的不对，我信心不够，我当然要沉水。And don't minimize the fact. 也别大事化小。I'm just getting a little bit wet. 我只是把衣服搞湿了。Don't even rationalize it. 也用不着非要解释。It's because of my lack of faith. Theologically, when I am short of faith, I've lost my focus on God. Therefore, I'm not blessed, and of course, I'm drowning. 这是因为我缺乏信心。从神学上讲，当我缺乏信心，我的眼目就离开上帝了，所以我没有得到祝福。那于是乎，我就要溺水了。Simply, just cry out, Lord, save me. 很简单，你赶紧喊说主啊，救我。You see, even a tough guy like Peter, a previous fisherman, knew how serious it was to sink in the water. 上说像彼得这么粗犷的人，做渔民的，他知道这个溺水的严重后果。It often takes only one choke. The fluid hits the lung. The person will not usually make any sounds, as he cannot breathe. 往往就是一口水呛到肺里面，这时候人甚至根本喊不出来，因为窒息。Without oxygen, the victim will lose consciousness. 缺氧，很快失去意识。It takes only 4 minutes. Without oxygen, brain cells begin to die, and irreversible brain damage occurs. 缺氧4分钟，脑细胞开始死亡，造成不可逆的大脑损伤。This is called biological death. 这叫做生物学死亡。So without delay, Peter rightly cried out. 坚不容发，彼得喊出来就对了。He was not distracted. 他并没有胡思乱想。He did not think, I have just experienced the feeding miracle. Why am I so focused on the negative? I'm with Jesus after all。他并没有在那想说，哎，我刚刚经历了5饼2鱼的神迹，我干嘛老往坏处想呢？我不是和耶稣在一起吗？ Instead, he instinctively shouted at Jesus, "Lord, save me!" 而是本能的喊叫耶稣说：“主啊，救我！” It was a wild prayer. It was also the most sincere prayer. 这就是一个狂乱的祷告，但也是一个最真挚的祷告。Tell God you are helpless. Ask Him to do something right now. 就告诉上帝说你坏事了，不行了，求他现在赶紧帮你一把。Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. 所以耶稣赶紧伸手拉住他。You of little faith, he said in verse 31. Why did you doubt? 说你这小信的人啊，31节说为什么疑惑呢？ Of course, we don't want Jesus to say to us, "You of little faith." 我们当然不喜欢耶稣说我们说你这小信的人啊。So we often tend to hide our feelings, and we expect Jesus or other people to commend us by saying, "You of strong faith." 所以我们总是想掩藏自己的感觉，我们希望耶稣或别人夸奖我们，说你是大有信心的人呐。But it's far more appropriate to tell God, "Lord, I am afraid. I am in trouble." 但是我们更应该告诉上帝说：“主啊，我害怕，我惨了。” We need Jesus to reach out His hand and catch us. 我们需要耶稣伸出手来抓住我们。In fact, I don't even think that Jesus was rebuking Peter. 而且我不认为耶稣呢是在指责彼得。Although Matthew did not portray Jesus' facial expression like I imagine, there was probably a big smile on Jesus' face. 说马太没有描写说耶稣的面部表情，就可以想象，恐怕耶稣当时是笑嘻嘻的。He was with his friends, side by side. He totally understood them. 他和他的伙伴们在一起，收都不能再收。But saying "you of little faith," you can definitely feel the intimacy. 所以当他说是你这个小信的人呢，是你明明带出一种亲密无间的口吻。Being Jesus' disciple is like a training with a master. 做耶稣的门徒就好像拜师傅学艺。You cannot hide from your master. 你别跟师傅躲躲藏藏。You need to expose yourself fully to your master. 你有什么去告诉你的师傅 ？Let him know your limits, doubts, and weaknesses. 让他知道你的极限、疑惑和缺点。Then he will guide you and strengthen you. 然后他才能引导你，去坚固你。And when Jesus and Peter climbed into the boat, the wind died down. 耶稣彼得上了船，风就住了。The disciples worshipped Jesus, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." 船上的人都拜他说：“你真是神的儿子。” Not only were they eyewitnesses of Jesus walking on the water and calming the storm, but also they saw how Jesus helped Peter by reaching out his hand when Peter was in need. 他们不只是亲眼看见耶稣在水面上走，平静风浪，还看见耶稣怎么样伸出手来帮助彼得。This is how we can fully recognize that Jesus is truly the Son of God, by admitting our doubts and fears, by taking hold of His ever-present hand. 这也是我们应该怎样全面的认识耶稣是主的儿子，把我们的疑惑和惧怕交给他，去抓住他伸出来的手。In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. 以圣父、圣子、圣灵的名。